He kōna e purangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
We've just bashed up a track in the Subaru Forester. Where are we standing now, Phillip?
Yeah, so my amazing 23-year-old Forester still gets up here. It's quite a steep track up Wai Creek. Fortunately, we've got access up here. I can drive a little bit further up. Saves a bit of walking time. Views across the lake, and we can see Cecil Peak directly opposite us. And we're going to head up the valley following the true right of the Wai Creek. We're going to walk up there and look for some spots to put some traps.
Kia ora, nau mai haramai ki te ao hurahanga. Hello and welcome to Our Changing World. Ko Claire Kincannon tēnei. Starting a fresh new year, we've got a story about AI and its use in conservation. There's been a lot in the news about AI, and not all of it good. But a team in Queenstown is making use of AI to improve their trapping efforts and efficiency. They think it might be the key to catching predators in difficult-to-reach places. I tag along with them to find out more.
So pretty much every
there's a Dock 200 there.
Every 100 metres up this track, we've got a Dock 200.
Phillip Green works for Southern Lake Sanctuary as a technical and field advisor, and he's leading the way. The Wai Valley is at the edge of Lake Wakatipu, between Kingston and Queenstown, just where the lake begins its dogleg turn. The track is fairly steep. If you followed it all the way, it would take you up to the back of the remarkable ski field. And the middle of the valley is well known for its climbing.
You look ahead of us up on the right by those waterfalls. You see these big cliffs here. This is the main climbing area.
I see some people climbing.
Yeah.
We're looking across to a big rock face on the steep slopes of the valley on the opposite side of the creek to us. This is how Phillip first got to know and love this area. And then, as a member of the local climbing club, he began trapping here. Tell me a bit about the area then. So you've been trapping here for a while. And in terms of the biodiversity that's in here that you're looking to protect?
So the bottom bit of the valley is a lot of broadleaf and scrubland, and it's really where the most biodiversity is as far as plant life. But it's been in periods in the last 30 years it's had various fires go through. So the slopes across from us here have been burnt off by fires. Down in the gully below us, where it's a bit deeper, and it's managed to escape some of the fires, and that's where you get some of the older trees, including some very large kowhai. As we get higher up, it becomes more predominantly beech forest, so less species. But you get quite a good spread of bird populations throughout the valley. Then up the mid-Wai it becomes more tussock country, and so you get pipits and kea. And then you've got your alpine area where you get your permanent snow, or your snow through winter. So it's really, we see the valley divided into three parts: your scrubland, your beech forest, and then the open tussock higher up.
And you've spent a lot of time in
I've spent a lot of time here, yeah. Doing a lot of climbing, a lot of hiking, a lot of trapping, monitoring. So we started in 2013 and Doc got involved. We've also planted quite a lot of natives trees under the climbing area. After the fires, we thought it would be good to try and restore some of the native plants. It's quite an exciting area, and when I first started coming here, you really almost heard no birds at all. And so the change since we've been trapping is quite amazing. So you see a lot of tomtits, fantails, lots of bellbirds. So it's pretty exciting to see the change that we can just make with the work we've done.
Yeah, in a decade. That is exciting.
In a decade,
Yeah. And this is the next phase then?
Yeah, next phase now. And now we can start getting into the more rugged bush, steeper slopes with these new smart traps.
The new smart traps he's talking about are a combination of technology from two companies, RNZ Auto Traps and FTP Solutions. These traps are self-resetting, equipped with a camera linked to an AI module and connected to a radio frequency network. This all combines to make the trap smart. That is, it's able to recognise what it's looking at, respond accordingly, and report back to Phillip. He calls them A220 AI traps, and I'm going to use that name here, though sometimes they're also called AT520 AI.
I don't know if you saw there's a bit of blue flagging tape, so we're just marking potential new locations for the A220 AI trap. So down this steep jungly bank here, There's a flat terrace down there,
Yeah.
and that'll be a perfect site for a A2220 AI.
And then in terms of the network around it, you'll have to put some other infrastructure to pick up signals from it?
Yeah, that's right. We've already got a gateway on the ridge across from us. And
What
we've
does
got-
a gateway do?
A gateway is basically it's a radio frequency box that talks to the Spark cell phone tower and then transmits out to a bunch of relays which then transmit to the traps. And it forms what we call a yarn mesh, and each trap becomes part of the yarn, and you imagine like a spider's network. It's just the more traps you put on, the bigger the spider's web becomes. And so you build up nice resilience if any one part of the network goes down.
Within your yarn mesh, within your spider web, you've got all of those traps are like the nodes, and they're sending information back through the gateways and then to the Spark Tower and then to you in the office.
To our office, that's right, yeah. So every time there's an event in the trap, it talks to we call it the smart node, which then talks to that network and talks to us back in our office or on our computer.
Today, Phillip is trying something new that's also going to fit into this networked mesh of traps. A live capture cat trap. And we're hiking up to find a spot to place it, close to an existing smart trap.
So we're just going to climb up this slightly steep bank here, follow the rock wall behind it. So we've put a location with one of the A2220 AI traps. I wouldn't necessarily trust anything you grab onto.
Yeah, okay. Scrambling up with us is Southern Lake Sanctuary Project Director Paul Kavanagh, who spots from a distance that this trap has been working hard. We bash our way over to the tree that the trap is attached to. We're next to one of the AI traps, and there are a pile of dead bodies.
So you see a couple of possum below the trap. That was from a few weeks ago. Last time I was up here, there was one rat in it, and I put it on the plank. Since then, we've got 3 more rats, 2 of them jammed inside the trap and 1 down on the ramp with its mate. So this is set with the AI feature of arming only on specific target species, which in this case is rodents or possum. So it's successfully killed 4 rats in the last 2 weeks.
So can you talk me through what's going on here step by step? So there's a little solar panel that's also attached to the tree and some wires that are feeding down into that trap. What's the setup here?
The solar panels to give energy to a battery within the trap. It can be a bit challenging because we're in a forest, so we do need a certain amount of sunlight to charge the battery. So we have to select our sites reasonably carefully to get some sun. And then, being a long way south in winter, the sun's quite low. So winter can be a little bit challenging, but we're learning to overcome it, choose our sites. So it charges the battery within the trap, and that battery gives power to a motor, and the motor basically allows a big cog to reopen the trap, the kill bar on the trap. There's a sensor in the trap, so when a predator crosses the sensor line, the trap fires, kills the animal, then the motor reopens it 5 minutes later and it's ready for the next predator to come in.
But with these traps, they're only armed once they have caught something on camera, correctly identified it, and then said, oh, that is one of my target species. Now I'm going to arm the trap. And only then, when the animal crosses the sensor line, does it fire.
That's correct, yeah. So it's we set a probability threshold. Through machine learning, build up a large library of images of the target predators. In this case, we're working on rodents and possums. So when it reaches a threshold that we predetermine, saying there's 80% probability this is a possum or a rodent, and if it's not, the trap won't fire, even if the rodent or possum crosses the sensor beam.
And it's doing that all itself. So everything is inbuilt in there, right? There's a little camera that's taking the picture, that's then feeding it into the AI, that's saying, oh, yep, that's a rat. I'm 80% sure that that's a rat. And then that's arming the trap. And then once the rat crosses the sensor, that's it, bam.
That's correct. And so the camera can actually see, the trap's actually screwed onto the side of a tree and it looks down onto a ramp, the approach ramp. And a couple of other things that's going on with the battery in there is it's got a pouch of mayonnaise lure, and every day or two it pumps a little bit of mayonnaise lure into a small cup in the top of the trap, that's the attractant or the mother load of mayonnaise, but it also drips a little bit of lure down onto the approach ramp. So the predators get a bit of a pre-feed or a taste of what's there. If they like it, they'll continue on and start exploring inside the trap. There's also the battery is used to power the AI module in the camera, as well as the radio frequency part of the node that talks to the network.
Yeah, so that's the white aerial that's coming off here that's sending all the information back. And so with all of these dead bodies, what kind of data have you got back? Like, do you come in the morning and the trap will say, hey, I fired last night, here's a picture?
I get a PDF report every day and it tells me which traps across our network killed, whether they killed a smarts, tell us the difference between a possum and a non-possum. So I get a report saying you got 20 possums across your network and you got 5 non-possums. And because of the AI, we know the non-possums will be rodents.
And you're able to also look back at all of those images taken on the camera, right?
That's right. I can look back in time. We can run a report, say, okay, the last 2 months, which any particular trap, we can look at what days it killed anything. So we can try and align it with other information like maybe the moon cycle, because we know 1 to 2 weeks after the full moon that predators feed more. So maybe that's a better time that you do some smarter things like pump more lure into the trap.
And in terms of Wye Creek, this is kind of early days in setting up the network? How many of these AI traps do you have in this area?
We've got 8 of these traps now, and the plan is to have 25 of them, which will give us good coverage of most of the beech forest and right up to the bush line.
But you've got an AI trapping network elsewhere, right?
We've got 3 other major networks in the Wahatipu. We've got Bob's Cove, which has been going for 2 years. We've got Bush Creek and Arrowtown, and we've got Coronet Face below the ski field. And those are much more mature, bigger traps. Trap networks. We've got 85 traps in Bush Creek, 20 in Bob's Cove, and about 40 in Coronet Face. So we've got good experience using larger numbers of traps. And we've got some amazing results out of them too.
When you say amazing results, what kind of things? Are we talking about numbers of predators?
Numbers of predators. Bush Creek, I think we're up to something like 1,500 possums and 400 other animals, rats or mice. Coronet Face, we're looking around 600 or 700 possums. And they almost join onto each other. And so between them, they're over 2,000 possum. And you wouldn't even think we had 2,000 possum in the whole basin. So it really gives us an idea the size of the problem. But one of the exciting things about this new technology is we'll also get photos of animals that don't go into the trap, that just visit and have a look at the trap. So we get an idea of what's left. So we might know, okay, you've killed 2,000 possums, but maybe using reporting and statistics, we can say, okay, you could have 3,000 possum left. So it's a way of understanding what we haven't got.
So instead of putting out a trail cam or chew cards, you're instead getting this data from the trap where it's like something walked past or interacted a little bit with the trap but wasn't caught, and here's a picture of it.
That's right. Down the line, we hope to be able to match up the traps in the network with a camera on the tree opposite the trap that will talk to the same network, or it'll talk to the trap, talk to the network, and that can take photos or videos of what's going on around the trap, and it could be used for bird monitoring, which is also a very labour-intensive process to do bird monitoring. And that measures your true success, because we're really here to bring back the birds, bring back the lizards and the geckos, get regeneration forest is really important. Possums do a huge amount of browsing, so they stop regeneration happening.
Yeah, true, but it's not about killing possum. I understand what you're saying. It's not about killing possum.
It's not about killing possum.
It's actually about the bellbird and the trees.
And when you come up here, 10 years ago there was hardly any birds up here. Now there's bellbirds everywhere, there's fantails, there's tomtits. It's just so exciting to see the change we've made so far. But then you think, well, we can continue to make a big difference for the future. So the next 10 years is going to be even more exciting. And hopefully we start seeing more care back in the Remarkables as a result.
Phillip clears some of the dead bodies out of the trap and then goes about making it as attractive as possible for the next clients.
So while we're here, it's quite good to just do a little bit of a pump of the lure.
He pushes a button to pump more of the mayonnaise lure out of the trap, so there's a stream of it running down the trunk.
And the other thing we do is call it glaze. It's a mix of flour and cinnamon and icing sugar. Put a little bit on the tree. Possums love this. Put on the trees nearby. So you treat it a bit like your shop window. So you're trying to get the buyers to come into your shop.
It's all about marketing. Having scrambled up the bank and bashed through the bush to get here, I have an idea of what Phillip reckons the main advantage of these traps are.
The traps that we used to use, as a comparison, the Dock 200, we follow track lines and they're easy to get to, they're easy to find. With these traps, we can actually place them off the track lines, we can place them in rugged country, we can create more of a grid network, and we can actually start trapping entire valleys, which is very difficult to do any other way. And so you might scramble up a bank 300 metres, it'll take you 15 minutes, 20 minutes to check a trap maybe 3 times a year. And in the meantime it's continuing to fire and kill predators. So that one of the biggest advantages is to be able to expand your network into tough terrain, steep terrain, heavily bush terrain.
And 3 times a year, that's what you're talking about with these AI traps. That's the only number of visits you'd have to do.
That's what we're hoping. So far that's proved to be the case. There's enough lure in the trap to last 3 to 4 months. The battery, as long as it's getting enough sun, should be good for years, really.
For Director Paul Kavanagh, this is key.
Our staff are there to support the volunteers, but also do a lot of the work in the really remote areas. A lot of our staff are going in on 3-4 day missions into backcountry areas like the head of the East Valley and Matukituki and Makarora. So this sort of tech is going to be crucial long term to reducing the burden on our staff to go in as regularly as they currently have to.
He's mentioning a lot of different areas here. And that's because Southern Lake Sanctuary is kind of an umbrella organisation that wraps around a number of local groups to connect a large geographic area. It formed in 2021 with support from the Jobs for Nature Fund that the previous government introduced as part of the COVID-19 recovery package.
We're a consortium of 6 large groups, and we're supporting about 100 community groups across the Queenstown Lakes district. We're trying to just support those groups. There's about 1,000 volunteers across those partner groups. They're the ones out doing a lot of the hard yards, and our staff are here to support those groups and the volunteers.
And what's the area that we're talking about?
We're currently suppressing predators across about 185,000 hectares. Our goal is the whole of Queenstown Lakes region, so we're pretty big, we're pretty ambitious, and I guess we're building on hard mahi of some of those groups for 26, 27 years. So we're kind of new on the scene, and we're just here. We're not here to take over, we're here to support and really ramp up the mahi of those groups.
And because it's such a large area, you've kind of divided it into hubs, right?
Yes, correct. Yes, we've divided the operational rohi, the operational area, into 6 hubs, which are kind of our core areas for intensive conservation work, and then long term we're trying to link those hubs.
So what are the hubs?
So we've got Matukituki, we've got Makarora, Wanaka. Then between Wanaka and Queenstown is Muratapu, then Tahuna, Queenstown, and Glenorchy as well.
It's a large area with lots to protect. So something that the organisation is keen on investigating are potential new developments that could help.
We recognise the importance of integrating new technology and innovation into our conservation goals when we have such ambitious goals in Kaupapa long term. So that's one of our key strategic focus areas, is use of innovation. And with so many interested groups, so many diverse ecosystems, we want to be the ideal trial site for a lot of new tech, such as some of the stuff Sheila's showcasing today. So it's not our tech, but we want to facilitate trials of this exciting new tech.
So how did that come about, the AI trapping trials?
Well, a big thing for us here, right throughout our kind of Tahuna area, is that we don't have a Kia-safe possum trap. So it's the species we're most trying to protect in a lot of our areas, the Kia, do make it a little bit difficult because of their curious, intelligent nature. So kind of it's the need. We have to innovate because we currently didn't have any really successful tools, especially for possum control. And also A lot of the areas where our staff are busiest is the really remote areas. So this sort of new tech is really key to that. With those remote areas where we're sending staff in on multi-day trips, they are also biodiversity hotspots, some of them, but also Kia zones. So the less time we need to send our staff out into the hills, the better. So this sort of tech never removes the need for hard work and boots on the ground, but it just means we can do more conservation work over a much larger area.
The Kia problem was what first got them interested in AI traps. To figure out whether the traps would be safe, they did trials at the Kiwi Park in Queenstown, where they're a captive Kia. As well as being nationally endangered, Kia are intelligent and incredibly curious birds, which sometimes gets them into trouble. The team did their trials using a disable trap that they had trained to identify possums and rodents as the target species. And across 2,000 images, the AI not once incorrectly identified Kia as a target. They'd been working on this for over 2 years and communicating the trial and results with key stakeholders, says Paul. And at the end of 2024, they received permission from DOC to use these AT220 traps with AI software in their project area, which is a major milestone for them.
It's always a bit fiddly the first time you do something like this.
But today is all about this new live capture cat trap, which Phillip is fitting with a camera and smart node.
So we're just preparing the ground for the cat cage so it's nice and level. Predators get quite nervous if there's any movement in a trap. They don't like it rocking. They'll quite quickly walk away from it and then they'll get trap shy.
And cats, I mean, these are feral cats that you're targeting and they're quite clever, right?
They're very smart, they're very wary. It's amazing, you can set a trap and cover it with leaves and they'll just walk around it. They have this uncanny sense to alert them to danger. The thing about this using a live cat cage is we're only targeting feral cats and wild cats, so we don't want to catch domestic cats. And because it's a live capture cage, it's not actually killing anything, and then we can make the choice. If we know it's a feral cat or wild cat, we can actually then dispatch of it.
And so there's a rabbit in there, but I believe that by hooking it into the network of other traps, you're kind of getting them used to snacking on what's up from the other trap.
Yeah, the idea of placing it nearby an AT220 AI trap, we know the cats love possums, and if you've got a trap that's regularly killing possums, the cat will hear the trap go off and they'll go free feed, down to the pantry, they'll come down, they'll snack away on the possum. And so what our intention here is, when we bait and set the trap, we will get back to the office and then we will actually fire the AT220 off, basically like ringing the dinner bell, so it lets any cats within a couple of kilometres know that there's potentially a free feed and a fresh possum to be had. So we're just using the intelligence of the network and the AI and the smart nodes to help get us better results.
So you're going to intentionally fire the trap. There may not be a possum there at all. The cat will come down and go, there's no possum, but, well, this is tasty rabbit. Then I might go for it instead.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing is we'll probably leave this wide open for several weeks, even potentially a month, and we'll just monitor what's coming in and out of it. And so it gives you an idea of how many wild cats you've got in the area and then when to set them. So you haven't got rabbit that's going off, you've got fresh rabbit. So once you know you've got 2 or 3 of these live cage traps with cat visitors, then you can set them.
Once the camera and node are on and trap is ready to go, Phillip spends some time doing some more window dressing. You're putting some more bits of rabbit.
Yeah, so one of the gurus of trapping in New Zealand is a guy called Cam Speedy, and I think he's got a rule of a third. So you put a third in the trap, a third at the entrance, and a third nearby, and that's this part of this whole shop window thing, just trying to attract predators in towards your shop window. And
you're laying the trail of breadcrumbs.
Yeah, we're laying the trail. So just making a bigger area that we can try and entice the cats in from. So it's all set, ready to go. We'll go back to the office, we can just check the connections and see what the reception's like, and hopefully we start getting some images.
Like the cat cage, here they've retrofitted many of their AT220s to make them smart. But you can buy them now ready to go. However, they'll put you back just over $1,000, so they're not cheap. It's been a while since we recorded, and they're now up to 17 smart traps in the Wye Valley. And with that thumbs up from Doc, they'll now be able to put them further up in the valley, in Kia country. For Southern Lake Sanctuary, their Jobs for Nature funding ended in June 2024. But they've found money to continue, says Director Paul Kavanagh. And he says there's much more to be done.
Look, we want to be talking about our project in 20 years' time. We want to be a multi-generational project. Ideally, we need to be doing much more conservation work. We did have to reduce our team slightly at the end of Jobs for Nature, which is a real shame. But long term, we need to be doing much more. So for us, we're just trying to be really strategic and to keep supporting our groups. And the support of our community has just been amazing in that space.
Thanks to Phillip Green and Paul Kavanagh of Southern Lake Sanctuary. This AT220 and FTP combo is also being trialled by predator-free Dunedin's Halo project. They work in an area just north of the city. Our friends at Country Life made a lovely episode all about their work. I'll link to that in the episode show notes and also on our webpage, rnz.co.nz/OCW. This episode was produced by me, Claire Kincannon, with help from Ellen Rikers, and sound engineering was by William Saunders. Tēnā koe I whakarongo mai. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Claire Kincannon. Have a great week. Kia pai, te wiki.